Hey y'all, let's take a look at how to write an equation in slope-intercept form from a graph. Here I have my graph. Now, in slope-intercept form, you remember your equation in the end is going to look something along the lines of this: y equals mx plus b. So in order to write this equation, I need to come up with two things: a slope and a y-intercept. I like giving myself little reminders of what I need to have under here, and I even sometimes will do this, that slope is an m, y-intercept is a b. Now that I know that, in order to find my slope, we talked about in class that slope is the measure of rise over run. In other words, it's how much up the line goes up and down compared to how much the line goes left or right. Now, to find the rise and a run, what I'm going to need to do is to create a step or a triangle to help me count that. But before I can do that, I need to know where a couple points are on the line that I'm going to be using. Looking here at this line, I can see in the background there's all of these grid lines, almost like streets on a map that go horizontally and vertically. Well, at each of these intersections, I have the meeting of two whole number points. So looking at this line, I want to see where that line goes through an intersection. I can see here, I can see here, and I can see here. I've identified 3 points on this line, but to get the slope, I really only need to take two of them. Any two will work, doesn't matter which ones. You'll always get the same slope in the end. So looking at this 2 points on a line, I'm going to take just this first and second one. I need to draw a step or a triangle that's going to help me count. So I'm going to follow these straight lines up and over to get to this next point. So you can see now, here's where that triangle is, or that step. I could keep going and actually make it look like staircases, but since I really only need one of the triangles, I'm not going to. Now, to identify the rise and the run, I'm now going to count the up and down value of this triangle. On the outside of this line, I know this triangle can be measured by 1, 2, 3 squares. So my rise is 3 for this line. My run is how much it's going left to right. 1, 2. My run is then 2. So I would be writing my slope as the fraction 3 over 2. Now, if this needed to be reduced, I would reduce it. It's an improper fraction, and a lot of times our brains don't like improper fractions. You don't need to turn an improper fraction for slope into a mixed number. You can leave it just like this. So I've identified my slope. Now all I have to do is find my y-intercept. This is the easy part. Looking at this line, you can see my blue line here is the line on the graph. The y-axis is the axis that goes up and down. Well, this black line and this blue line meet on the graph right here. They cross right here. And on the y-axis, this number is actually the number 0. So now I have an m, now I have a b. I can figure out my equation. So my equation says y equals mx plus b. Only I know instead of an m, I'm going to have 3 over 2. Instead of a b, I'm going to have 0. So really I've got y equals 3 over 2x plus 0. Now, when you get to high school, your algebra teacher is not going to like that very much. Whenever you add 0 to anything, it does not change the value. So we actually don't even need to put that plus 0. Our equation for this line would be satisfactory as y equals 3 over 2x. Let's take a look at another one. A difference I hope you notice about this line and the line before is the line before, if I look at it from left to right, is going towards the ceiling. It's moving up. Well, this line from left to right is moving down, which means that our slope is going to be negative. So a line moving down represents a negative. A lot of people mess up here. Now, because that slope is negative, I'm going to go ahead and put my negative symbol on my slope. I need to look and find 2 points on this line Here's one. And here's one. Once I found my 2 points, draw my step or my triangle. I, for myself, like to go ahead and make a -1. I have my triangle go under the line. It doesn't matter if your triangle goes above or below. I have it go down just to remind me, hey, I'm actually counting down. That's where my negative symbol is going to come in. Now, count my rise and run. 1, 2, 3. So I went down 3. 1, 2, over 2. So my slope is then -3 over 2. Let's take a look at this y-intercept. This y-intercept, if you remember, here's my y-axis. Here's my blue line. They meet right here. And on the y-axis, that line is a -1. So my equation says y equals mx plus b. I'm going to take my equation. Y equals -3 over 2x plus -1. Now, again, your high school teacher is going to be a little critical of that answer. That answer is correct. However, we know when we learned how to simplify, or not simplify, but add and subtract negative numbers, that when I add a negative number, it's the same thing as subtracting a positive. So I would actually take this and turn it into y equals 3 over 2x minus 1. So hopefully that helps you remember how to find an equation from slope-intercept form.